Welcome to Health Empowered, the podcast where I dive into all things health, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. I'm Audriana, a trauma-informed physiotherapist and yoga teacher. On this podcast, I'll be interviewing experts in their health fields and humans living through healthcare experiences to provide you, the listener, with education and heartfelt stories. Let's learn together. Welcome to Health Empowered. I am so excited to be able to create and offer this podcast to provide information on a variety of healthcare topics, from physical health to mental health and emotional health. I can't wait for you to hear all the amazing guests I have lined up. So today's episode is an introduction to the podcast, an introduction to me, a way for me to share my hopes and dreams for what this podcast can become. And of course, as this podcast is all about health, empowered, I will empower you with some physiotherapy-related health tips at the end of the episode. So stay tuned for that. So, who am I? I'm Audriana. I am a physiotherapist and trauma-informed yoga teacher, and I live in beautiful British Columbia on Vancouver Island, which is on the west coast of Canada. Today is a beautiful spring day here. I hear birds chirping, the sun is shining, the trees are treeing. It's really a lovely place here. Now, as a physiotherapist, I specialize in helping people feel empowered in movement. And if you can't tell by now, empowerment is a key theme for me. My practice mainly focuses on helping people with chronic pain, people who have experienced trauma, or people who have a fear of movement, or who have had negative experiences with movement. I help these people to find joy, empowerment, and safety in movement. And so at the end of the episode, I will give you my top tips for finding joy and empowerment in movement. I started this podcast, Health Empowered, because I know there can be a lot of information about health online. There can be a lot of misinformation, a lot of new information, confusing information, and it can be really hard to know where to get good information about health. And so my goal is to bring on healthcare providers who can educate on different health topics and help you, the listener, to feel empowered on your own health journey. Along with healthcare providers, I will bring on some guests who are people living with different health conditions, who have different health concerns, people who have had different health experiences, and give them the space to share their story. I think it can be empowering to hear other people talk about their health journeys, and I hope that you will learn something from them. Speaking of learning, let's dive into my top tips to find joy and empowerment in movement. My first tip, and I cannot stress this enough, is find something that you genuinely enjoy doing. Society can make you believe that in order for movement to count, you have to be sweating, going all out, doing something extremely hard and strenuous. And I promise you that this is not true. All movement counts. Yes, it's important to have a mixture of strength training, cardio, and mobility work for overall health, but there are many ways that you can do these things. So find something you enjoy and do that. Gardening, yoga, dancing, hiking, Pilates, pickleball, it really doesn't matter. Just choose something that you like. You will feel more empowered. You will probably be more likely to do it more often and to enjoy doing it. My second tip is to remove rigid rules around your movement practice. Sure, if you have a set goal you're working towards, it is important to stick to a plan, but it is also important to recognize when your body needs something different. If you wake up one morning and you're just not feeling great and you have a big workout planned, you do not need to do the workout. You can be flexible. You can change your plan and honor your body's cues. Now, if you've been stuck in the diet and fitness culture for a long time, it might bring up some anxiety or fear to skip a workout. And that is a completely normal reaction to have if you have been focusing on diet and fitness. But meeting exercise goals is really about having consistency over time. So if you skip a workout here and there to honor your body's needs, I promise you can still be on track to whatever goals you might have. In fact, rest and recovery are a huge part of meeting goals. If you ignore your body's signs that it needs rest, this can ultimately lead to burnout or to injury, and that is what's going to derail your goals. So don't be afraid to dial it back once in a while or skip a workout entirely if that is what your body is asking you. And my final tip for joy and empowerment in movement is to set goals for movement that have nothing to do with how your body looks. Maybe you've always wanted to be able to do a chin-up or run a 5K. Maybe there's a new type of dance that you want to learn. Why not set these goals instead of losing the last 10 pounds? If I have learned anything over the past few years, it's that movement does not have to be punishment. Why force yourself to do a type of movement that you don't enjoy just in the hopes that it's going to change how your body looks? It can be so empowering to get the chin up, to run the 5K, to learn the new dance, and truly enjoy the journey towards the goal because you're doing something that you genuinely enjoy doing. So there you have it, my top tips for finding joy and empowerment in movement. And at the end of every podcast, I'm going to ask my guests 2 questions. And so I will answer the questions for you today before signing off. The first question is, what is one book or podcast that you have enjoyed lately that has educated you on your health, mental, emotional, or physical, that you would recommend to someone else? Now, I read a lot of books. I listen to a lot of podcasts, so I'm going to have a couple recommendations for you today. One book I recently read was called Up to Speed, The Groundbreaking Science of Women Athletes by Christine Yu, and I really enjoyed it. It dives into the latest science to help women with their athletic potential, and that's something I'm interested in, so I thought that it was a great book. And the latest podcast, okay, I got 2 for you guys because I just love podcasts. One is Dr. Gabor Mate. He was on the podcast On Purpose with Jay Shetty, and I always love listening to Gabor speak. He has such an interesting way of looking at trauma and how trauma can impact our health. So I would definitely recommend that one. And the other one was Dr. John and Julie Gottman on the podcast The Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett. I also love listening to the Gottmans' takes on love and relationships, and I personally feel like that falls into emotional health. So if either of those topics seem interesting to you, I would definitely go have a listen. The final question I'll be asking my guests is, what does empowered health mean to you? And to me, empowered health means having choice and power over your health experience, being able to speak up for yourself on your health journey, and being able to educate yourself on what works best for you. And so this podcast will give you lots and lots of education that will help you with your health. And that's it for the introduction. Thank you so much for listening to the first episode of Health Empowered. Stay tuned for exciting guests and heartfelt stories all about health. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Health Empowered. To support the show, please rate, review, share, and subscribe. And if you're looking for support on your health journey, visit my website, empoweredmovement.ca. Have a great day and stay empowered on your health journey.